Welcome to the Explainer. Let's just jump right in, shall we? Today, we're conducting a bit of a forensic investigation into the world of M&A. Specifically, we're looking at why seemingly rock-solid deals just quietly fail. You know the story. Massive deals get announced with all this fanfare, only to result in these disastrous write-downs a year later. Why does that happen? Well, we're going to break down the specific vulnerabilities that cause this, and more importantly, we're going to see how a structured 60-point framework can completely eliminate those blind spots. Look, I really want you to let this single, powerful quote sink in for a second. What you miss matters more than what you find. In high-stakes transactions, diligence isn't just some boring box-checking exercise. It is a high-stakes investigation. Teams pore over data, bringing immense intelligence and effort to the table. But the asymmetry of risk is just brutal. The unseen risks, the ones lurking right beneath the surface, those are the ones that will completely destroy your projected returns. And when those unseen risks inevitably slip through, we see some incredibly painful symptoms. We're talking massive overvaluation of the asset, incredibly unpleasant and expensive post-close surprises, integration friction that literally tears teams apart, and the ultimate sin, the total erosion of your projected financial returns. The crucial takeaway here is that these failures don't happen because deal teams are lazy or because they lack data. They happen because of unstructured diligence. They're trying to interpret a mountain of data without a systematic, repeatable method. So to replace all that unstructured chaos with absolute clarity, here is our roadmap. We're going to cover the illusion of confidence, investigating value leakage, the 60-point system, risk-weighted scoring, and finally, the strategic edge. Section 1, the illusion of confidence, where deals actually break. So there's this common fallacy in M&A that if a deal is going to fail, it fails at the signing table when negotiations break down. But actually, no. The reality is they fail quietly during the diligence phase. Pre-close diligence is supposed to reduce your uncertainty, but in practice, it often does the exact opposite. It creates a false sense of confidence. And why is that? It's because the analysis is totally fragmented. You've got the legal team looking at contracts in one silo, the tech team reviewing code in another, and the finance team buried in spreadsheets in a third. They're relying on surface-level validation without any unified system to properly interpret how all this vital information intersects. Moving on to Section 2, investigating value leakage, exposing hidden culprits. Now, this is exactly where the trap is set. On the surface, you have the illusion. This is the polished narrative presented by the seller. The revenue's verified, EBITDA is neatly adjusted, the growth story sounds absolutely fantastic. But beneath that, that's where you find the terrifying reality of hidden exposure, or what we call value leakage. What looks absolutely pristine on paper can hide massive, capital-destroying risks if you don't aggressively interrogate the structure beneath that performance. Let's actually look at a specific example of how this happens. Customer concentration. This is a classic, deadly sin of diligence. The surface narrative might scream that top-line revenue is strong and growing. It looks great. But when you peek under the hood at the revenue distribution and see a single client accounting for 75%, you've just found a massive red flag. If you're only focusing on total revenue instead of revenue stability, you're basically stepping on a landmine. If that one key client churns immediately post-close, your entire valuation collapses. A structured framework prevents this specific value leakage by enforcing strict customer dependency mapping, looking deeply at contract terms, renewal structures, and retention durability so you know the revenue is actually stable, not just big. Another huge culprit: technology blind spots. A surface-level product demo might look phenomenal, completely tricking a non-technical deal team into thinking everything is perfectly fine. But beneath that shiny, modern user interface, there often lies a nightmare of non-scalable architecture, security vulnerabilities, and massive technical debt. If you just assume the existing tech is future-proof without strict technical validation, you're going to get hit with severe, hidden rebuild costs that will completely obliterate your integration budget. All right, Section 3, the 60-point system. 6 core domains of structured diligence. If unstructured diligence is the root problem, this is your ultimate investigative tool. It's designed to catch those specific leakages, like the customer concentration and tech debt we just talked about, long before they destroy your capital. 60 points. I just want to pause on this number for a second. The solution to M&A failures isn't throwing more hours or more bodies at the process. It's not about doing more diligence. It's about doing structured diligence. This specific framework transforms fragmented, messy analysis into incredibly sharp, decision-grade intelligence. The framework is built on evaluating risk systematically across 6 core domains: financial, legal, operational, market, management, and ESG, or external risk. Every single one of these domains includes very clearly defined checkpoints. You aren't just looking at the financials in a vacuum, you're looking at operational fragility, like key person dependencies. You aren't just checking off legal boxes, you are mapping out regulatory exposure early on. The goal here is zero blind spots. And here is where the magic really happens: cross-domain validation. The system actively prevents isolated failures by forcing all those isolated silos to finally talk to each other. Step 1, you check the financial signals. Say they're claiming massive projected growth. Step 2, you validate that against operational realities. Does this company actually have the internal processes and vendor redundancy to even support that growth? Step 3, you confirm it all with market evidence. Are those financial projections based on a real competitive advantage and actual market demand, or is it just narrative bias? If the domains don't align, boom, you've found your hidden risk.
Section 4, Risk-Weighted Scoring, moving beyond the checklist.
This methodology right here is exactly what separates modern frameworks from outdated textbook due diligence. The fundamental question we have to ask ourselves is, how do we prioritize findings? When you run a deep diligence process, you are going to uncover hundreds of issues, literally hundreds. No company is perfect. But the fatal flaw of traditional diligence is treating every single finding with equal weight, which just ends up drowning the deal team in noise.
The difference in these approaches is literally night and day. The old binary checklist approach focuses simply on pass or fail, and the massive flaw there is that it just catalogs every single minor finding, leaving you with a huge, unreadable 200-page document. The enlightened approach, though, it's risk-weighted. Its focus is a calculation of severity multiplied by probability, and the benefit is massive. It immediately prioritizes severe risks over minor findings.
When you actually apply this scoring, your visibility completely changes. Severe technical debt? That might score a 90 out of 100 on its impact to deal viability. High customer concentration scores an 85. Meanwhile, a minor compliance gap, like a late filing from 3 years ago, that scores a 15. By prioritizing severity and probability, the real deal-killing risks instantly bubble right to the top of your dashboard. You aren't distracted by the minor issues anymore. Your attention is laser-focused on the exact items that will cause real value leakage.
And finally, Section 5, the strategic edge: faster, safer decisions.
This right here is the ultimate payoff. This is how you turn diligence from a defensive, boring chore into a really sharp offensive weapon. By adopting this 60-point risk-weighted system, you gain a massive competitive advantage. Step 1, you get much higher signal clarity, which yields objectively better decisions. You are finally separating verified signals from reported truths. Step 2, you drastically lower your downside risk, ensuring capital preservation. And Step 3, which is huge for your wallet and your market position, you achieve faster execution. In today's market, let's face it, deals are won on speed. This framework compresses your diligence timelines without ever sacrificing a drop of analytical rigor.
I want to bring us to this incredibly powerful closing insight from our source material today. Diligence is not about collecting information. It is about eliminating uncertainty systematically. That is the core philosophy you really need to take away from this. Anyone can collect PDFs in a virtual data room. Very, very few can systematically eliminate the unknowns. The difference between the firms that consistently win and the ones that suffer those quiet failures, it is not effort. It's not about grinding out nights and weekends. It's system design. Unstructured diligence creates false confidence and incredibly fragile investments. Structured diligence creates predictability and repeatable, highly profitable outcomes.
So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought to chew on today. Are you just evaluating deals, or are you actively evaluating how you evaluate deals? It might just be time to take a really hard look at your own workflows, ditch those outdated binary checklists, and start implementing a systematic framework that actually protects your capital. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the process.